Today, Dr. A and I are sitting down going through a few Summer League guys, some standout players from the recent Summer League. Then we will wrap up our journey, very short journey through the draft-only league that I was a part of. Let's go balls deep. Hello and welcome to the Balls Deep Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Fantasy Basketball International. FBIBasketball.com is our website. You can follow me on Twitter at AdamKing91. Dr. A joining me again, 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night over there, 11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Here, Steve, how are you?
I am well. I am very well. I worked my first shift at my golf club today. So that should mean free golf, Adam. And for me, that is way more important than money.
That for me would be probably for me it would be more important than money. Probably not for my family, but free golf. Gee, I'd be probably not. Yeah, in 10, 15 years when I'm maybe not having to work every day full time, then that would be awesome. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I love golf as much as you, but I do love playing golf. So.
You know, Adam, I was thinking about something today, driving home to come to do this. A Cars song came on my playlist, and in my opinion, the Cars are like the most underrated American band of all time. I started thinking about Australian bands. We've got AC/DC, obviously. We've got Men at Work. Are you a music guy?
Yeah, look, I probably wouldn't call myself a music guy, but I do like music. I don't really like genres of music. I just like songs. So,
okay.
And I listen to a lot of, with a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, I hear a lot of the music that they listen to. I don't get it, but I hear it. I probably listen to a lot of 80s, sort of late 80s, early 90s, a lot of Billy Joel, Elton John, ELO, stuff that that my parents listened to when I was growing up.
So I guess my question was going to be like, what is the best Australian band?
Oh,
We also had that weird Silverchair thing happen.
Yeah,
that was 92 to 96.
Yeah, they were huge for a while, and then sort of.
And they were kids. Yeah, they were like 16, 17 years old.
Yeah, look, I didn't mind Silverchair. AC/DC were a little bit before me. I mean, I know all their songs. In Excess, I don't mind In Excess. Probably for me growing up, Icehouse were a big Australian band, and potentially one that you haven't heard of. And again, this was just because my parents used to have a record player, so listen to vinyl, and that was what they had. So that was what I listened to. The Bee Gees, I guess. I like a lot of the Bee Gees songs. Powderfinger are probably one of my favorite, and Savage Garden I liked as well.
Now, Icehouse was a one-hit wonder here in the States. Okay. I think it was Electric Blue.
Blue, yeah.
That was their big jam.
Yeah. And that was their biggest song here too.
For me, I love AC/DC. I'm a little older than you are. That's kind of what I grew up on. Okay, we can move on to basketball. I was just curious as to what your Australian music influences were.
Yeah, look, I think if I had to say a favorite, it's probably Powderfinger. Powderfinger are probably my favorite Australian band. and they've done songs from a lot of Australian movies that I like as well. So, yeah, we will. Let's move over to basketball. I will get this set up, and we will jump into. So, like I said, we're going to start with some summer league reactions, and I think. Look, you didn't watch much summer league. I didn't watch a lot of summer league. I watched probably the first 2 to 3 days. I really just wanted to see Victor Wembanyama out on the court and a few other guys. But once you get beyond the first few days, all of those bigger names, or most of them, don't play anymore. So didn't watch a lot. So I've come up with a few names of guys that are fantasy relevant, some guys that might be fantasy relevant. First one is Jabari Smith, who, well, I mean, he dominated Summer League, and you'd expect him to dominate Summer League. 35.5 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, a block, 3 3-pointers. I think probably for me, he was someone last season that I drafted in a few spots, and he was pretty disappointing. Did you have him last year? And I guess, what are your thoughts based a little bit on this, but even just without these performances for this season, is he someone that you think is going to take some big steps forward?
Well, Houston is so weird. Like, we just don't know who they're going to play because they have so many stars on that team now, especially like fantasy stars. Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green. Now we have Dylan Brooks in Houston. We have Jabari Smith. We have Alperen Sengun. We have Trey Easton, who we're going to talk about later. We have Kevin Porter Jr. We have one of the Thompson twins, right? Like, there's so many guys. Jayshawn Tate, who nobody even talks about anymore. Yeah. There's so many guys there that I just don't know what to think. I think my takeaway on Jabari Smith in the Summer League is he's too good for Summer League.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
pretty much. Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
But I do think I would not mind getting Jabari Smith in a mid-round situation with the expectation that he can possibly blow up.
Yeah, so I'm just having a look. So last season, I think if you look at last season, I think he established a good role for himself, but production-wise, he was disappointing. He shot the ball. I mean, it's hard to imagine him shooting worse than he shot last season. And he was inside the top 150 last year. Despite all of the struggles, he was 145th. So I think, if that's his absolute flaw, and I don't see any way he's that bad, he has to be a draftable guy. He has to be someone you're taking at 120, 130 with the upside to probably get inside the top 100.
And this may be a hot take, but I would say his floor is twice as high as it was last year. Like, there's no way he's as bad as he was last year. There's no way.
No, and I think the fact you said there, he'll have Fred VanVleet as the point guard now. So he's going to, just straight away, their offense is going to be better with Fred VanVleet there. So, yeah, I think he is definitely someone that could have a really strong bounce back. It's not, well, I guess it's sort of a bounce back. He was his first season. So Max Christie for the Lakers was interesting. He was pretty good. And he, unlike Jabari, he is a guy that did have to play in Summer League because he's trying to earn himself a spot in the rotation. 19.8 points, 5.8 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 0.8 steals, 1.6 blocks, 2.23. So has the ability to sort of fill it up across the board. He, from what I've seen, and I don't know a ton about him, but from what I've seen, he's listed as a guard, as sort of a shooting guard wing guy, but he has some block upside. I've noticed in all the games he plays, he gets a block, he gets 2 blocks, he gets 3 blocks. If that's an element of his game that is going to stick, then I think there's a bit of upside there, but I'm not sure where he fits on the rotation. Have you got any thoughts on him at all?
You know, if you would have asked me a year ago right now, Austin Reeves, any interest in him in fantasy, I would have said no. Like, no, this is not happening. But this is the Lakers. and anything's possible. And I do like what you're saying about his blocks. I mean, he averaged 1.6 blocks in summer league, and some guys have the nose to go block shots, and other guys don't. Like your guy. Oh man, we're gonna have to edit this. Zion Williamson should be a shot blocking phenom, right?
Yeah.
But he just doesn't block shots. But if Christie is going to go out and block 1.2 shots a game in his 18 minutes he gets, then I'm interested at least to see what's going to happen there. But, he's also playing for a team that has guys that miss games. D'Angelo Russell, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, all of them miss games. So I could see him being a subtle surprise in fantasy hoops this year. I'm not reaching for him, but I think he might be a late round flyer guy.
Yeah, I don't think you need to target him or draft him, but certainly just keep an eye on what he's doing, keep an eye on injuries to other players. And I think from memory they were doing an interview with Rob Pelinka in one of the Lakers Summer League games, and he spoke highly of Max Christie and what they think of him. So I think they would like to get him into the rotation somewhere. Only time will tell, see where he fits there. Trey Easton is the next guy, probably another one that didn't really need to be playing in Summer League. He dominated last year in Summer League. 23 points, 9.5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 3 blocks, 2 3-pointers. Unlike Jabari Smith, he doesn't have a starting role locked down in Houston. But I hope that their new head coach, Ime Udoka, views him as a key piece for what they're trying to do. Play him as the sixth man, 26 minutes a night, maybe. Is he someone that you would consider drafting towards the end of a draft?
Yes. I was on the Trey Easton hype train last year, and I don't like the fact that he's probably going to play the same position as Jabari Smith. I don't like the fact that Dillon Brooks is there now. But like you said, Udoka may figure out that Dillon Brooks, like we've talked about this before, like I can't decide if Dillon Brooks is helping my team or hurting my team most of the time that he's on my team. Like he's just there doing his thing and riling everybody up. So maybe at some point, Trey Easton becomes a guy where we look at and think, man, he's definitely helping my team. So I am okay with Trey Easton late again, just like last year. And I don't think we need to worry too much about Jalen Green and Jabari Smith ruining him. It more comes down to Dillon Brooks, I think. But if nothing else, we know how talented Trey Easton is if he's given a leash.
Yeah, look, I think, the Dillon Brooks thing is frustrating. But last year, Trey Easton he actually ended the season better in terms of pure rank, 142nd, better than Jabari Smith, 142nd in only 21.6 minutes per game. So I think you have to say, well, he's going to play at least 22 minutes, hopefully more like 26 to 27. So I think top 100 is certainly within reach. He has a good ability to contribute on both ends, 9.3 points, 6 rebounds, 1.2 steals, 0.6 blocks. So, I mean, theoretically, he could be sort of 12 points, 8 rebounds, 2 combined steals and blocks. That in itself is valuable. So definitely someone that if he's available in the sort of after the 10th round, 11th round, I'm swooping on him.
Adam, while we're here, are you a stocks guy or are you an anti-stocks guy? Like, I kind of hate the word stocks.
So anti is in the word stocks, you mean?
Yes, I like saying steals and blocks.
Yeah,
Some people like saying stocks.
No, I don't say stocks.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, this is why we ended up here together.
Yeah, no, I prefer, and I think I did for a while, and then I think obviously cultures, histories, all that sort of stuff, very different Australia, America. But I was just told by someone, it could have been someone from Sports Ethos, could have been I don't know, but they said, look, stocks is really not a word we want to be using, and explained why. I looked into it, and so I tend not to use it. I know others do, but I, much like you, I just say steals and blocks or.
Well, I would like to go back and see that email exchange as to why we don't use the word stocks, because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just don't like it. So like when I'm on the golf course and somebody goes, man, this is a great track. Instead of saying this is a great golf course, they say this is a great track. And it's like, because that's what culture has told you what is cool to say. I don't know. I'm drifting way off base here.
No. Look, if I can find that email, I'll pass it on to you.
I would like to know the reason that we don't say stocks. I just don't like it. That's my thing.
Okay, well, that's good. Neither of us will be using it, so we're on the same page.
Excellent.
So the next guy, Isaiah Jackson, again, probably a guy that didn't need to be playing in Summer League. 17 points, 12.5 rebounds, 1.5 blocks. He was a bit of a guy last season that I think we were pretty high on. Part of that was due to the fact that Miles Turner was potentially going to be traded. We didn't know what was happening. He ended up being a bust. I mean, if we're honest, I'm just having a look at. Yeah, I don't even think he finished inside the top. No, he didn't. Inside the top sort of 160, 170. This season, I guess we know Miles Turner's still there. They now have some power forward depth. So I think Isaiah Jackson is certainly not going to start. I don't think there's any chance he starts. But my hope is that they figure out that he needs to be the backup center, not Jalen Smith. Is he someone that you're high on this season, or that you think does have some upside?
Well, first of all, Adam, how are you holding up without all the Miles Turner trade talk this offseason? Like,
it's very quiet.
It's all we talked about last year. Like, Miles Turner's gone, he's gone. Then he gets signed. We have Jalen Smith, we have Obi Toppin, we have Isaiah Jackson. Like, that does not bode well for Isaiah Jackson at all. Like, there's just too many bigs in Indy for that to happen. There's a lot. Indy's an interesting team to talk about because Bruce Brown is going to mess with Buddy Hield a lot, right?
Yep.
Obi Toppin's going to mess with Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith is going to mess with Isaiah Jackson. There's just a lot of traffic going on at different positions in Indiana. So I'm not really psyched about any of them. I'm not fired up about Bruce. I'm not fired up about Buddy. I'm not fired up about Jarris Walker, who ESPN has at the top of the depth chart to start. I don't know if that's going to happen. I still think Jalen Smith, who I went all in on last year because he was going to be the starting power forward for the Pacers. And that just never really worked out. And now Miles Turner's locked down. Like, there's just a mess in Indy fantasy-wise, unless you're talking about Tyrese Halliburton. And even with a guy like Benedict Mathurin, who had a great year last year, there's still Andrew Nembhard. There's still Aaron Nesmith. Now you got Bruce Brown thrown in there. Like, there's too many variables fantasy-wise for me in Indianapolis, except for Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, they've sort of gone from no depth to a lot of depth quite quickly. And yeah, look, I think I'm not, the only spot I would take Isaiah Jackson is with my very last pick, and you just have to wait and see if they do go, okay, we're playing Isaiah Jackson purely as the backup center, 18 minutes a night. I think that's probably enough for him to have some value. But as you said, Jalen Smith is still there, Obi Toppin, Jarris Walker. We don't know who's starting. It's it's a situation that I'm probably avoiding initially.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to draft any Pacers outside of Halliburton and Turner. And then the rest of all those guys we just talked about are going to be at the top of my queue when somebody gets hurt.
Yeah. Yep, fair enough. Next guy, now this guy we know will be starting, Chet Holmgren, 16.5 points, 9.8 rebounds, a steal, 3.5 blocks, 0.3 3-pointers. So I only put obviously that's 0.3 3-pointers is nothing. It's not really worth discussing, but I just put it in there because I think some people will be of the opinion that he's this guy that's going to hit 2 threes a game and get 3 blocks a game. I don't think he's going to shoot that many 3-pointers. And I mean, this was only summer league, but I just left it in there to highlight the fact that I don't think you'll be able to look at him as a consistent 3-point scorer, but the blocks are definitely going to be there. The rebounds are going to be there. How high are you on Chet this season?
I'm pretty high on him because I have him in our dynasty league when I tanked and tried to get Wembanyama this year, and that didn't work out quite as well as I wanted it to. But I have Chet. I'm expecting big things from Chet. I like the flashes that we've seen from Chet. We haven't really seen him just take over, but we haven't had many opportunities for that to happen. So, like, I'm a Pacers guy and a Hawks guy, but if you ask me who my low-key favorite team is, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder, man.
Yeah.
They got Shea, Giddey, Dort, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. Like, there's so much fun stuff going on there. I think it's easy right now to say Chet's going to be a bust. Chet's not going to live up to the hype, just like it is Wemby's not going to live up to the hype. I think Chet and Wemby are both going to live up to the hype. I'm hitching my wagon to both of those guys and rolling with them this year.
And so for I guess Chet, I mean, people are always, especially now that they're both technically rookies this season, people are always going to compare Chet and Wemby. Similar build, similar kind of skill set. It's been sort of talked about from San Antonio that they probably don't want to start Wembanyama at center just because of the physicality and his build. We haven't really heard a lot from Oklahoma in terms of where they want to start Chet. Do you think he starts at center with like a Lou Dort at the power forward, or do you think they start Chet at the 4 and start someone like the other Jalen Williams or Jeremiah Robinson Earl at center?
I mean, if I'm running the Thunder, I'm starting Chet at center. He's 7'1", and he's a center. Victor Wembanyama is a center. I mean, that is who they are. You're not. I don't know how you start someone else at center and bring Chet off the bench or start him at power forward. Like, you got to play Jalen. You got to play Lou Dort. You got to play Giddey. You got to play SGA. You got to find some way to get the other Jalen in there. Chet's a center to me. I'm drafting Chet as a center, and I'm all in on him.
Yeah, I agree. I think they will start him at center, and
I pray and hope that Oklahoma City doesn't baby him and make him a load management guy. Like, I want him to play every night, not 3 out of 4 nights.
Yeah, I'd like to think they will. I mean, I think they're in a position now where they're going to be pushing for the playoffs. That concept of tanking and losing games is done. I think we saw that last season, and they're going to be even better with healthy Chet, Jalen, Giddey, all those guys with a season under their belt, as well as they drafted Carson Wallace as well, who I think is going to be really good. So next guy I've got.
The only sad news I have to report about all of this is my guy, Alexis Pokuševski.
Yes. Yeah.
Alexi, he's probably going to go bye-bye. But
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, I don't think he'd need some injuries to have a role this season. Yeah, I don't see
I don't know, man. He hustled hard last year. Coach loves him. I'm gonna say Poku is still has a little bit of sleeper potential.
a little bit. All right, we'll go with a little bit.
All right. Okay.
Next guy I've got is Keontae George. A little bit more unheralded than some of these other guys. 18.7 points, 3.7 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 1.3 steals, and 2.8 3-pointers. For anyone listening who sort of might not know who he is, because as I said, he's not one of those bigger names. He was drafted by Utah. Really impressed during the summer league. For me, I could make a case that he should start over Colin Sexton. I don't think they'll do that, but Sexton he's never been a guy. I mean, he's solid enough, but I don't think he's going to sort of win them basketball games. I think Keontae George has far more upside. Is he someone you're interested in at all?
That is a strong take from you, Adam. Keontae George should start over Colin Sexton. Like that's a bold take. And I don't hate it, but it's not going to happen. Like they're paying Colin Sexton a ton of money. He's going to play. They have Jordan Clarkson. They have Markkanen. They have Johnny Collins, who you watch. Now he's not in Atlanta. Is going to go crazy. Walker Kessler is going to have a great year. Kelly Olynyk is there to back it up. The problem is Talen Horton-Tucker. I think like he's such a good role player, bench guy. It's going to make it tough for Keontae George to really make a big impact. Now, I could be wrong. Sexton and Clarkson can both play point guard. So can Keontae George. Maybe Keontae George is better than I think he is. But to me, hey, kid, great summer league. That was awesome. Now go sit on the bench and watch the rest of the season. Because I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah,
look, I have very little confidence that he will start, but I really liked what he did there. And then, I mean, you've got to throw Chris Dunn in there as well. Chris Dunn was really good for them down the stretch last season. So I don't know where he fits. But I mean, we're not drafting either of those guys, obviously. The last guy, really just a fun fantasy guy. We've seen flashes from him last season. He was really good in Summer League. Kenny Lofton Jr. For the Grizzlies, 17.7 points, 7.2 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2.2 steals, 0.8 blocks, 1.8 threes. He is not someone I'm drafting. I will say that. But his fantasy game or his game translates really well into fantasy. He'd need some injuries. He'd need some minutes to open up to have a good role. He's got a lot of guys in front of him. The Brandon Clark injury helps, but I still don't think that he's going to play a significant role. But is he someone that you're sort of excited about, I guess, long term, or if an opportunity were to open up?
I was excited about him last year after watching Summer League. Like, for some reason, Kenny Lofton was the guy that caught my eye in Summer League. And I was like, man, this guy could be good. Like, if they let him play, like he could be pretty good. And they didn't let him play at all. And he, invisible. How many games did he play for Memphis last year? Like 10?
He actually played in 24, but a lot 24. Of those were like 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes.
So he didn't get a chance. Santi Aldama was way better than anybody thought he was. Xavier Tillman hanging around. Conchar, Jaren Jackson Jr., Steven Adams. There's just too many guys that are going to keep Kenny Lofton from playing. But, man, when I watched Kenny Lofton in Summer League last year, and his numbers this year are really, really good too. He's going to be one of those Summer League phenoms that may never pan out in the regular season.
Yeah, he'd need to. I don't think Memphis is if we wanted him to break out, it won't happen in Memphis. He would need to be on a team that's tanking or something like that. But He did. I'm just looking at his numbers from last season, and yeah, I mean, he didn't play a lot. He played in the last game of the season, which obviously they would have rested everyone. But he scored 42 points and had 14 rebounds in the last game of the season. So
he probably also needs to lose like 25, 30 pounds.
Yeah, he's not a. Yeah, no, look, he's not a typical. He doesn't have the typical build that you would expect to see from an NBA player or nowadays. Onto the draft only league. So we got up to round 6 last time. So we're going to go through round 7, 8, 9 quickly. And then beyond round 9, you're sort of looking at outside the top 100, 110. So there isn't really a lot of, it's just you take your guys at that point. You look for upside. You take guys that you really just want to have on your team. But we'll start with round 7. So pick 73. For those not watching, Chris Paul went at 73, Devin Vassell, Onyeka Okongwu, Jakob Poeltl, Draymond Green, Marcus Smart, Ja Morant, CJ McCollum, Markelle Fultz, John Collins, Mark Williams, and Trey Murphy. Who are the guys there that you think are good value? Maybe they fell, or maybe they're being taken too high.
Like, is there one name there, Adam, that sticks out to you more than any other? Like, the fact that Ja Morant is such a superstar in this league, but his free throws, his off-court stuff, his turnovers, whatever, his lack of three-pointers, like, it all adds up, and he always ends up down here around 80, right?
Yeah.
But he's better than that. Like, when he's on your team and he's playing games, he's racking up numbers. It sort of reminds me of Luka with the turnovers and the lack of defense or whatever. Like, he's better than his ranking, I feel like. But he's got a 25-game suspension. So games played is definitely a category in head-to-head leagues. So it makes sense that he's here. I just don't like that he's here, I guess.
Yeah, look, I think
go ahead.
Our ADP data, I think I had a look at it yesterday, has him at about 70. So this is a little bit lower than where he's been going in a lot of drafts. But you're right, that 25-game suspension is just scaring a lot of people off. That means the most he can play is 57 games. You figure he's going to have some injuries in there. He's always playing above the rim, so there's risks of ankle injuries, knee injuries. So you figure sort of conservatively he might play 50 games this year, and that's where the discount comes, I think. But as you said, when he's on the floor, he's better than this.
I have a prediction that Ja finally understands what the impacts of what he has done are, and he comes back after that 25-game suspension on an absolute vengeance and takes over. I think he's going to go crazy. I think if you get him, I mean, I wouldn't mind reaching for him at like 60.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can get him that late and you have 5 other players you've taken before him, he's not going to kill you to sit on the bench for, 5 weeks, whatever it's going to be. I think he's going to go crazy. Other guys on that list, I love John Collins bounce back in Utah. I'm a big Mark Williams guy. CJ McCollum is one of the more underrated NBA players in the league, I would say. And Jakob Poeltl, also underrated. Like, nobody cares about Poeltl, but he's pretty good.
He is, yeah. I think he'll have a better season. Last season, when he was in San Antonio, he wasn't playing. He didn't look engaged. He looked much better when he got back to Toronto. Chris Paul falling to 73. I think his ADP is actually lower than this. We're seeing him go more in the 80s or 90s. Onyeka Okongwu, I think, is a guy that he's already there's a bit of discussion around what his role is going to be. There's rumors that Capella could be on the move if Atlanta gets Siakam. I'd love to see a Okongwu at center with Siakam at power forward.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
with Trey and DeJounte.
Yeah, it would. I think, and if we look at Okongwu last year, where are we? So in 23 minutes a game last year, he was the 76th ranked player. So if he starts and plays 30 minutes a game, top 40, I think he's certainly within reach. So certainly worth taking a chance on him at the moment. But by the time we're into draft season, we'll have more of an idea of what his role is going to be.
Yeah, as of right now, I'm reaching for a Okongwu. I'm never drafting Chris Paul. If I end up with Chris Paul on one of my teams this year, I'm going to retire from fantasy basketball. And Devin Vassell is again, like he has been every year, super sleeper, steals guy, tons of minutes, playing with Victor. Like, I love Vassell.
Yeah, I like him there too. I like Trey Murphy. I get a bit worried that Murphy might be slightly overdrafted this season because he was really good down the stretch last season, but Ingram was injured a lot. Zion wasn't there. I think when Zion is there, their rotation changes a little bit. I'm still really high on Trey Murphy, but I don't know where he's going to end up going. And the last guy on this list that I like, and I don't know, he's a bit polarizing, but Markelle Fultz. I thought he was really good last year. I thought it was probably his best season. What Orlando drafted guards, so they drafted Anthony Black, which that annoyed me a bit. I don't know where they view Fultz now. Do they view him as their starting point guard, and they're going to start Anthony Black next to him? But they've got Jalen Suggs, they've got Cole Anthony, they've got Gary Harris still. What do you think that rotation looks like in Orlando?
Well, the crazy thing to me about Markelle Fultz is he, I think, holds the NBA distinction of being the former number one pick who just keeps hanging on to hope. Like, okay, maybe this is the year that Fultz has figured out his shot. He's not going to be hurt. They're going to roll with him. Cole Anthony is an afterthought. Like, maybe this is all going to come together and he's going to pan out as a number one overall pick, because usually if a guy's into his fifth season or wherever we are, like, they're either in or out at this point. And Fultz is still hanging around. So first of all, props to him for doing that. I do think the fact we have Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, and Jalen Suggs all on the same team, and like you mentioned, Anthony Black added into that mix now. Like, how are any of them going to be able to really succeed with that many mouths to feed in that position? I don't really know how that's going to work, but I'm with you. I thought Fultz did a great job last year. You know, the days of his shot being broken and us being totally scared of drafting him are over. But he was the number one pick in 2017. It's 2023. We're still talking about him. Like, just props to Markelle Fultz for still being around.
Yeah, look, I thought he was good. I think if I had to pick one, much like you, I think Cole Anthony will be the one that might be scaled back a bit. I know he can score, but he's not a great defender, not a great passer. I think they would prefer to lean a bit more on Anthony Black. Gary Harris is another guy that I could see traded at some point. He doesn't fit what they're doing. So whether they look to move him before the deadline, I don't know. Would
you draft Gary Harris under any circumstance this year?
No.
Me either.
No. He'll be injured within a week, so it won't really matter. Fultz, I think he was a top 90 guy last season. So I think if you can get him around 80 or 90, there's room there for some value.
And there's also tons of upside, like tons. Like he could, this could be the year. It could happen.
Could be. Round 8. Pick 85, Derek White, Cam Johnson, Klay Thompson, Spencer Dinwiddie, Clint Capella, Mitch Robinson, Jalen Duran, Jalen Green, Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, Miles Bridges, Trey Easton. Look, for me, not a super exciting round. I really like Cam Johnson at 86. Miles Bridges, we talked a little bit about him potentially on the last show. We have talked about him a little bit. Getting Miles Bridges at 95, would you be happy to land him there? Would you take a bit of a chance?
I actually like these rounds better than like the 5th round. Like, I'm happy if I get Derek White at 85. I'm happy with Cam. I'm happy with Clay. All these guys. Miles Bridges, there will be people that don't take him for moral reasons.
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to win your fantasy league and he's playing for a contract and trying to, get back on the right track, he's a good player. So I'd much rather have Miles Bridges than Scoot or Jalen Duran or Trey Easton, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Cabela.
Yep. I'm just having a look at where we've got Bridges in our ADP data at the moment. Where is he? Bridges. No, I don't want McCall Bridges. So we've got him at 89 in our ADP data. So he's going around in this range. Look, if I could get Bridges in this round somewhere, I'd be happy, because I think there's certainly top 50 upside, top 40 upside. Look, most of these guys are fine. Klay Thompson, we know who he is. We know what he's going to do. Anthony Simons is an interesting one. I think with sort of Shaden Sharp coming on late last season, that's probably impacted Anthony Simons' projected value a little bit, but he's still someone, I think, if and when, I think we know Damian Lillard's going to be gone. We just don't know where and when. Simons will be starting, so I like him there.
What about Derek White with no Marcus Smart in Boston?
Yeah, look, he's interesting. He was really good last season,
coming off that playoff run.
Yeah, I think. So I'm just looking. Yeah, so he was 89th last season, coming off the bench in 28 minutes. So I think with Smart gone, you could safely assume that Derek White's going to start and play 31 minutes, 32 minutes. So if top 90 is his floor, then obviously if you get him at 85, then there's potentially 3 rounds of value there. He could be overdrafted in some leagues for people who just sort of think, oh, yeah, look, he was so good last season, he's going to bust out this season. So I wouldn't want to get him. I wouldn't want to sort of reach for him and take him in the 50s or anything like that. But if you could get him here, I think this is a really nice spot. And as you said,
go ahead.
I was as we sort of said with when we were talking about Max Christie earlier, Derek White block. He gets he racks up the blocks from the guard position, which that can be a real game changer in a fantasy league. If you've got a guard that can average close to a block a game, he was 0.9 last season, then that can really sway that category.
Yeah, and Marcus Smart was arguably their best guard defensively, and if he's gone, Derek White steps into that role. I love Derek White here. The guys I love in that round are Derek White. I kind of like Scoot. I think Scoot's going to be better than 93. Even though I'm not a rookies guy. And then Miles Bridges, like those are 3 kind of studs that you can get in later in drafts.
Yep. And we've got a couple in this round as well.
Look at where my Michael Porter Jr. is. No.
Yes. So round 9 we're in. Yeah. So 97, Wendell Carter Jr., Jeremy Grant, Michael Porter, Jabari Smith, Mike Conley, Austin Reeves, Aaron Gordon, PJ Washington, Andrew Wiggins, Tobias Harris, Trey Jones, and Buddy Hield. Let's start with Michael Porter then. What are your thoughts on him?
He's been a really rough ride for me. I was all in from the beginning till now. I've always been all in. I'm still all in. I mean, if I get Michael Porter Jr. in round 8 or 9, I'm in over all these guys. Like, I think Andrew Wiggins and Michael Porter Jr. are absolute steals there. I think Wiggins only played 37 games last year. He had personal problems. He had an ankle. He had ribs. He had a foot. He had a hand. He had an elbow. Like, he was constantly banged up, and then had an illness and a personal thing that kept him out forever. So he was an absolute bust last year. Andrew Wiggins is due for a huge bounce back season, and so is Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, I like both those guys here. Jeremy Grant's another one. I think with no Lillard there, he signed that stupidly big contract that we talked about a few weeks ago. He was the 69th ranked player last season with Damian Lillard healthy. So with no Lillard there, I know Scoot comes in and takes a lot of those minutes, but I think Jeremy Grant could be potentially top 60, top 50. If you can get him at 98, I think there's value there. Mike Conley's an interesting one. What are your thoughts on him this season in Minnesota?
I'm going to have to say no. He is, I'm pulling up his age right now. Mike Conley is 35 years old. Actually, by the time this season starts, he will be 36.
Yeah.
I'm out. I am.
Yep, fair enough.
I am out. I think your value picks here are Porter, Jabari Smith, Wiggins. That's about it. That's all I really like from this group of players.
Yeah, I'm sort of similar. Wendell Carter, I don't mind him there. He's sort of a solid enough center. So before we go to the last list of names, just Austin Reeves. What do you think about Austin Reeves this season?
You know, the 102nd pick is fair for Austin Reeves. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I remember sitting in a hotel room in Nevada, and he hit that big 3-pointer to win it.
Yeah. And
I was like, man, this kid is something, but it still feels like a mirage to me. Like, I don't know if he's as good as we think he is.
Yeah, I think it's the sample size is relatively small when you consider a whole career. So I think around this range is fine. 102 ADP has him at 106. I think I've got him in the mid-90s in my rankings. So I think by this time in a draft, you've sort of established your starting lineup. You've got 7 or 8 roster spots filled. You're looking for upside. I think there is upside there. So, yeah, look, I'm okay taking a bit of a flyer on him around this area. All right. And if we go to, so now, as I said, beyond this sort of range, 110, you're really just looking for upside. You're looking at guys to fill roles. You're looking for certain stats. So I've just gone through and listed a few guys and their draft spots. 114th was Josh Hart. 121st, Denny Avdiar. 122nd, Shaden Sharp. 126, Rob Williams. 131, Bruce Brown. 138, Ben Simmons. 139, Javon Carter. 150, Jalen Suggs. 163, Isaiah Jackson. And 164, Naz Reid. Any of those guys there sort of jump out to you as sort of, I would have to draft this guy if he was available at this spot?
Well, I'm always intrigued by Denny Avdija. Shaden Sharp to me is a guy I'm drafting. Like, that's a guy I'm targeting in fantasy this year. Robert Williams, so sad. The knee injuries have slowed him down so much. Like, it's weird to see like Robert Williams and the Mitchell Robinson are guys that like 4 years ago we were taking, top 2 or 3 rounds. And that was obviously a huge mistake. But if you get Robert Williams, the Time Lord, at 126, I'll take that all day. I think Bruce Brown is super intriguing. Signed for all that money in Indy. playing with Tyrese Halliburton, locker room leader, team leader, kind of an underrated all across the board, like good at everything, but not great at any of them. He's just a solid, steady fantasy guy. So I'm not touching Ben Simmons. Probably not messing with any of the other guys below him either.
Yeah. Simmons is, I don't know. I hope he can turn it around, but yeah, we'll see. Rob Williams, look, I think if you can get Rob Williams outside the top 100, you have to take him. He was, where are we? He was 70th last season, and I think you could probably consider that as about as bad a season as you'll get. 35 games, 23 minutes a night, still a top 70 player. So I think with Kristaps there, they can manage him a little bit more, so they won't need him to play big minutes. They can cycle through Al Horford a little bit. So, yeah, look, I think Rob Williams is someone that they probably only need to play 24 to 26 minutes a night. Could certainly still be a top 60, top 50 player. Shaedon Sharpe, yeah, look, really love him. Javon Carter's an interesting one. He was probably the only one there that I'd consider, just because if he is starting for Chicago, we saw in flashes last year in Milwaukee, he can hit threes, he can get steals, he'll get decent assist numbers. So he might be someone I'd take as a last round flyer. And Naz Reid, I just put there. I don't think I'm drafting him, but the Wolves paid him, and I think they maybe want to try and get more minutes from him and not purely play him as a backup. So there might be moments where I don't know if they'll run. I don't think they'll ever run three bigs like Utah are doing, but it might be that they go with him and Towns down the stretch if they don't need Gobert or so just someone that I'm keeping an eye on because he was really good last season when he played minutes.
Javon Carter is interesting because when he was starting for Milwaukee last year, I used him in DFS a lot. And sometimes he came through, sometimes he didn't. But Lonzo Ball, man, I hope Lonzo Ball can get back. But Javon Carter could have a huge role with the Bulls this year. Like, he's another super sleeper to keep an eye on, along with Alex Caruso and Ayo Dosunmu. Like, we got to see which one of those guys steps up.
Yeah, we don't know. And Kobe White's there as well. He played well in patches last season. So, yeah, once we get a bit of an idea of what that rotation is going to look like, Carter might be a winner and someone to target. So that's all. That sort of brings us to the end of the draft-only league. I know we're up to about 20 draft-only leagues that we've run now over on FBI. So our ADP data is getting bigger and bigger by the week. We'll end it there. We'll wrap it up. Next week, we're doing a live mock draft with 12 analysts. So you'll be in that. I may or may not be in that. I'm not sure if I'll be in it or just hosting it. But we've got 12 analysts that'll be joining in, 30-second picks. So it should be a fast, quick draft just to give people an idea of where players are going. Have you got any preferences at this point as to where you would want to be drafting?
Are you going to me?
Yeah, I am. Yep. Any like, do you want to draft get the first pick, 12th pick in the middle rounds?
I don't care. I always want Luka on my team or Wembanyama. One of those two guys, I'm okay. And also, if it's going to be on Fantrax, then I need to make sure I have time to get my rankings and all that set up.
Yeah, I think if you want Luka, you're probably going to need a top 5 pick, top 3 maybe.
Are you going to set this draft or are you going to random it?
I'll random it.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what I want.
It doesn't matter what you want. I was just curious.
The Rolling Stones said you can't always get what you want.
You cannot. You might. Well, if someone wants to pay me, they can get what they want.
But you get what you need. Yeah, I can send you. Look at this right here, a Ziploc bag of Tostitos mini rounds.
All right.
What will that give me? What will that give me?
I'll get you the third pick. You should get Luka at 3, I think.
They'll be there in 6 months.
Yes. All right. So that will do for today. We will be back next week. Thank you for joining us. You can check out all of our content over at fbibasketball.com, including our Discord. And I think we're just continuing to roll out the draft-only leagues as well. Follow us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. We'd love it if you could give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, catch up.
You just listened to another episode from the Fantasy Basketball International Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us. And for more information about joining our community, please check out our website at fbibasketball.com.